Okay, so I want to welcome everyone to the discussion of the social dilemma. So I'm Randy Liaz. I've spent the past several months as director of the online experience group, and we're really excited for this discussion since it speaks to so many of the issues that we're taking on as an organization. I think each of you will have noted that when you were watching the movie. And so I hope that what we can do is use what we discuss here to create a future social media workshop. And there may be some people who need to leave after an hour, but we're expecting the discussion to be really engaging. So it'll probably run a little bit longer. We're going to try to keep it pretty tight. But if you can stick around past 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, that would be great. A quick note, so closed captioning is actually available for this. So if you click on that button, there's a CC button on your Zoom client. You can select show subtitles, and that will allow you to see the closed captioning, which may make it easier for some people. So let's get started. So this is the quote that the movie starts with, and it reminds us that with all the promise that we saw at the dawn of the internet age, we didn't foresee the other edge of the sword that social media has. So I think that kind of sets up this conversation. So I want to take a look at what we're going to be covering tonight. So first of all, we're going to review some Zoom tools and some ground rules. We'll do a quick overview of the ideas in the movie just to give us a framework for our discussion. Then we're going to move to our discussion groups. So first we're going to talk about our discussion questions, excuse me. So first we're going to talk about the most impactful insights from the movie. Then we'll talk about how social media is affecting the way we relate to one another on a societal level. We'll also talk about how it's impacting us personally, right? Because these are 2 very big impacts. And then using the breakout room discussions, we're going to focus on what we can do about these issues as individuals and as an organization. All right, so that's the general framing. Then we'll have a checkout question that talks about what we generally took from this conversation. So I want to run through a Zoom briefing really quickly. So first, we'd like you to click on the participant button in the bottom of your Zoom window, and that's going to bring up the participant panel. And the bottom of the panel is where you'll find the raise hand button. So I'm circling the buttons with red boxes. Careful not to click on the screen share, the slide that I'm screen sharing. That's not the buttons that you want to click on. It's on your own Zoom panel. But that's where your raise hand function is going to be, and I'll be calling on people as they raise their hands. And then the mute unmute button is on the bottom left. If there's a slash through it, it means you're muted. We would appreciate if people could keep themselves muted while they're not speaking, so we don't have a lot of background noise. And please also note that Zoom doesn't allow us to unmute you, so we're going to ask you to do that for yourself before you speak. The chat button is also on the bottom of your panel, and it's a good idea to keep this open in case one of the people running the call is chatting to you, or you want to chat to someone if you're having any difficulties. And let's see. So Dan is the ZFM. He's our Zoom feature manager, and he can help you with some technical questions if you have any. Actually, Hank Fay, I noticed that he was also here, and so Hank would be able to help you as well. And I think, let me see if we have restricted the chat. So the chat is open to everyone. So if you have any technical issues and you want some help, I would suggest either chatting to Dan or to Hank Fay. So that covers that. And then finally, if you're in the breakout room and you're having any issues, there's an ask for help button that might actually also be under the more button in case you can't find it. But there will be someone in there. There'll be a moderator in there for you, so you shouldn't have too much issue in the breakout rooms. So with that, I want to get to the ground rules. The ground rules that we have for today is we're here to have a discussion about a great movie and understand and explain our thoughts about the movie and the issues that the movie exposed, not really to convince anyone else of our viewpoints, right? This is a standard Braver Angels rule. So in other words, come to the discussion with a sense of inquiry and not advocacy. And then speak for ourselves. Don't attempt to speak for a group or a candidate. Stick to the questions that we are asking you, because we do want to have a fairly tight conversation. And then if you could show respect for others, their ideas and feelings, that would be great. And then the presenters and the moderators that are in the breakout rooms, we would like you to give your permission for them to enforce these rules and for you to respect their facilitation of the exercises. So if you're going outside of the rules, then they may ask you to reframe your statements or stop what you're saying, and we would appreciate it if you could heed that. So with that, I want to get to the framing of the issue. Okay, so first of all, is the business model of social media, right? We are users, as they say, and not customers. And it's now actually a common saying in the tech industry: if you are not paying for the product, you are the product, right? It's one of the things that Tristan in the movie mentioned. And this is actually not that new of an idea. It goes back to well before the internet. There was actually a 1973 short film called Television Delivers People, which started with the lines: the product of television, commercial television, is the audience. Television delivers people to an advertiser, right? So this is not a completely new business model. And Jaron Lanier, who was the guy with the dreadlocks, really the most colorful character that we saw in the movie, he said, to be more specific about the product, what the product actually is, it's the gradual, slight, imperceptible change in your own behavior and perception that is the product, right? Next, and that leads us to the approach, right? It is targeting, it's addicting, and it's influencing. And again, none of these things are particularly new, right? Media has been trying to do these things for generations, right? They've been trying to target customers and to influence them into buying their products or behaving a certain way. But right now, they're all being supercharged by technology. And in the movie, you saw the exponential curve of the advancement of this technology, and that's really what's new about this, and it creates a feedback loop, right? That's self-reinforcing, strengthening our bubble. And why is that a particular threat right now? Well, the state of the world. Other institutions can't adapt nearly as quickly to the technology of the internet, right? So governmental institutions, educational institutions, a lot of the institutions in society in general cannot adapt that way, that exponentially. So what Tristan Harris said is, he summarized the problem. He said the problem doesn't have a name, but he summarized it as technology is overpowering human nature. And he actually has another talk where he quoted Edward O. Wilson saying, the real problem of humanity is the following: we have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. And I thought that was an interesting framing of it. And so to sum this up, this framing of the problem, the result is addiction, polarization, radicalization, outragification, vanityification, and other ills. Right? That's how one of the people in the film put it. So with that, I want to get to the discussion questions. So the first one that I want to pose is, what was your biggest takeaway from the movie? And I'm actually going to stop my share, but I'm going to put up the question right behind me, so everyone has a reminder of what we're talking about. And so I want to see. You can raise your hand, your blue virtual hand, if you'd like to comment on what was your biggest takeaway from the movie. So who would like to? Doug, I see you'd like to offer a thought.
Yeah, I'd just say most important point I took away was that it was pervasive and existential. That the issue really, covers all issues and makes, all of them potentially more dangerous.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Doug. Alistair, what was your biggest takeaway? And unmute yourself. Still can't hear you, Alistair. No, not hearing you still. Yeah, I think there might be an issue with your audio. So if you wanted to chat to,
Hold on, can you hear me
oh,
now?
yes, I can hear you now.
I forgot to push a button. I have an external mic.
Right.
So my takeaway is simple. Don't use these technologies if you can find any way not to.
All right. I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel that way. Yeah. All right, Jamie, what's your biggest takeaway?
I had no idea how influential social media was in the polarization issue that we're trying to combat.
Yeah,
That's really valuable from that standpoint.
definitely. And Donna, I see that you're raising your hand because you can't raise it electronically. I'm gonna let you slide in now, and then we'll get back to the blue hands.
Thank you. I remember reading a book by Yuval Noah Harari called Homo Deus, an amazing book, and it's talking about artificial intelligence and how that's going to change the world. And so I was most amazed by the person who said artificial intelligence already runs the world right now, and the phrase "it's checkmate on humanity." Whoa.
Right. Yeah. Another indication that this is existential. That'll be something I think we're going to discuss a little bit later. That's going to be really interesting. So thanks, Donna. And so Jamie, you made your comment. So Lyle, what was your biggest takeaway? And Lyle, if you could unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I had just been wondering why it is that we have seen this kind of worldwide change toward authoritarianism. Poland, Turkey, Brazil, Philippines, United States to some degree. And I think to a degree, this helped me see that this is part of that answer. This is maybe part of the reason why we're starting to see that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lyle. Mary Beth, what was your biggest takeaway?
That we are the product being sold for the data we provide. And there's part of me that wonders, do we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater? Is there any way to use these algorithms for something good?
Yeah, that's definitely something that was on my mind, and I think we'll be discussing that more. Thanks, Mary Beth. Tom, what's your biggest takeaway?
Well, Randy, my biggest takeaway was to hear knowledgeable insiders of Silicon Valley being so critical of social media.
Yeah, absolutely. That made it really impactful, definitely. And I don't know if we'll be able to get to everyone. We're trying to restrict this one to 5 minutes, but Randy Lawrence, what was your biggest takeaway?
That Big Brother really is watching. So when we think that we're making independent decisions, there's really these subliminal influences that are affecting how we make those decisions.
Yeah. Okay. Joe, what was your biggest takeaway?
I think the biggest learning or takeaway for me was the powerful impact that seemingly small or subtle actions can have, especially on girls or young women, especially tying it to increased suicide rates.
Right. Yeah. Jane, how about yourself?
Well, there was the comment made about how the technology world, how they're losing control of the machines themselves, that they're just out of control. And then also that just the impact that social media and these technologies are having on this younger generation, and in terms of their mental health.
Right. Definitely. And Gene Hinson, you get the last word. What was your biggest takeaway? And unmute yourself.
Okay, I think I got unmuted.
Yep.
As a non-digital native and somebody who doesn't use social media very much, but who's somebody who's very politically aware, kind of overwhelmed, and I find it really, really frightening and scary because I'm worried about the solutions. I'm worried about people knowing enough to say, hey, wait a minute, we've got to do something about this.
Absolutely. All right. So yeah, I think those are really great points. I want to discuss a few things specifically on the societal level. And the first question I want to ask is, what are the ways that social media is negatively impacting our society? And this can talk about both the actual negative effects that we see or the mechanisms that are producing those effects, right? So, and some people mentioned the idea that this is an existential threat, right? So with this, I want to also include that possibility in this conversation. So I'm gonna stop my share. I'm gonna switch my my background again, and this is the next question. So what are the ways that social media is negatively impacting our society? And the first one we have is Joe. So Joe, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's promoting gross oversimplification of complex problems in our society. And closely tied to that is the spread of conspiracy theories.
Okay, and I think I might have gotten the wrong order. I apologize. Karen Cummins is your next go. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've seen is people have more and more information surrounding their bad assumptions, and I've watched people that I know very well and who I know are very intelligent and very thoughtful become radicalized, become anti-vaxxers, become extremists on one side or another, and they're surrounded by information that supports their views. So they feel completely comfortable in these extreme views because it's constantly being reinforced because of the way that these AIs function.
Sure. All right. Thanks. Jamie, what is your thought about this question?
The one thing I didn't realize was the extent to which we're targeted on an individual basis in terms of our news feeds, where you can be sitting next to the same to somebody next to you in the same location and get totally different news based on previous choices that you've made, which speaks to the point about, you know, we all AI is already controlling our society.
Right, and it reinforces itself because you get strengthened in that viewpoint, and then you look for that viewpoint more, and it's a feedback loop. Thanks. Okay, the next person is Alistair. What are your thoughts? And Alistair, you're muted again.
There we go. I have been studying this quite hard for some time, and I've discovered there's a pretty solid research that for some reason, and I would really like to hear people's opinions about why this is, the right side of the political spectrum has historically made far more use of these technologies, going all the way back to radio in the 30s, than the left. And obviously, I think it's obvious to everyone, this amplifies the situation more and more and more. And I would like to understand why the right wing makes more use of this than the left.
Okay. Well, certainly there's probably viewpoints on the right that that have a divergent view from you, but that's an interesting thought. I'm trying to get some new people in the conversation. George Perkins, what are your thoughts about this?
Oh, I'd suggest that the question needs to be reformed. That social media is primarily the tools. Negative impacts are coming from the people who are making use of those tools for influence and for advertising. And anyway, yes.
Okay, that's interesting. In the movie, one of the speakers did frame it as, well, it's not like a bicycle that is a pure tool, right? That social media wants things from us, right? And so that's one way to look at it, but it is a set of tools, certainly, that certain people are using for their own purposes, perhaps against us. So yeah, and Eileen, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, I feel privileged that I saw the movie or the documentary, that I had friends that alerted me to watch it. And my problem with this is all of the other people in society that don't watch this documentary, that are not alerted to it, that don't have anyone else to say, look, do you know this is happening? And what you're choosing and what you're thinking might not be you, that you might be driven to do this. So that bothers me a lot.
Okay, thanks. So we've got a lot of people who want to comment, but we're not going to be able to get to everyone. I want to pivot to the next question, because that one is about, it's actually about the positive. So I want to show you this question, which is, what are the positives that we would like to preserve about social media, right? That clearly they're, one of the subjects of the doc said we shouldn't lose sight of the benefits that it has had on society. The promise that this tech held at the dawn of the internet age, we were so hopeful about it. So there are clearly some positives that exist from it. And so I would want to know, what do you all think are the positives that we would most want to keep from this? So I'm going to switch again. And let's see. So Andrew, Andrew Roth, did you have a thought about the positives?
Can you hear me now? Okay. I'm on mute.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm on the phone. I do. I was going to talk about the other thing, but I can talk about this too. It's funny because I think we should make a distinction perhaps between the internet and social media. Social media is a certain category within the internet. I think there's a lot of great stuff in the internet, the ease with which you can find information. And also email is great because it's such a quick way to communicate with people. I'm kind of a Luddite or a dinosaur because all my friends, even my kids certainly, and even people in my generation, do use Facebook. I never go on Facebook. They get to see what this person's doing and what that person's doing just through their posts. If I want to communicate with someone, I send them an email, and I think I'm a lot happier. That I don't get pulled into that Facebook stuff.
Right. Okay. All right, Jose Orena, do you have thoughts about the positives that we would want to keep?
Actually, I do. I'm actually right now a data scientist student, and so I'm kind of seeing the beast from within. So the thing is, again, the problem is that we use these bucket terms and we say social media. What is that? And so the thing is that when you break it down to the technology aspect, like for example, Twitter, there's a lot of nonsense that goes on Twitter, but then you have an earthquake in Chile and they're able to find people to their Twitter accounts because people are able to give their locations. And so the same thing, when a mother's, when parents can put together and organize events for their kids during COVID-19 to get together in the park through Facebook. So the thing is that I think the issue is not the tool itself is bad. It's just the incentives that have been created. And I think they touched that in the movie around how the tool is going to be utilized. That I think is the big problem, and the thing we need to be concerned and hopefully do something about it, and kind of rescue those technologies, because the technology per se is not good or bad. It's just, if I use a hammer to put a nail through a wall, or I use a hammer to murder somebody, I'm still using a hammer. And I think it's the same thing. And I think you have to be careful when you use these terms like social media or the media or anything like that. You have to be more specific, because if not, it gets diluted.
Okay, thanks. Paul Norris, you're a tech guy. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, so I've got three things that I like about it, and I'm actually speaking mostly about Facebook, which is about the only social media that I actually use. Number one, I'm in touch with people from my past with whom I would have otherwise likely lost contact. In fact, I have reestablished contact with some people. And if you know how old I am, you know that I got a lot of past and there's a lot of people involved. Secondly, I find that I have connected to people who I think have real wisdom, who I would not have otherwise encountered, not pundits, but, people who have really, really fabulous things to say. And a third thing is that eventually I got up off my butt and I stopped complaining about all the horrible crap I was seeing. And I realized that I have enormous control over what I see. And so I just quite simply, every time somebody posted a meme that turned my stomach, I snoozed them for 30 days. And, the combination, and I actually haven't completely blocked anybody, but between the combination of snoozing people who post horrible memes and, using the like button, my feed has actually become pleasant for the most part, and ennobling and enlivening.
So you found if you snooze, you don't lose. So that actually brings us to to the next topic that I wanted to discuss, which is the personal level, right? So what I wanted to start off because obviously the movie focuses a lot on the negatives, right? So we're going to start with that question: what are the negative impacts that social media has had on my life? And one of the things that we certainly need to address in this conversation is, do I feel polarized by it, right? It can be a subtle effect, and often we don't feel it, but it might be there and we might actually feel it. So do I feel polarized, and possibly how? So I'm going to put this question up on my background as well. And there we go. So who would like to offer a thought on this? So, and I'm definitely looking for new people. So Suzanne, what's your thought about this?
Hey, I'm going to offer an odd opinion because I'm actually not on any social media. I chose at the very beginning, no thank you. So sometimes I feel excluded from what's going on Facebook, because classes or people be streaming something on Facebook, and they'll say, join us on Facebook, and this is the group number. And I say, well, I can't because I don't have an account. So I miss out on stuff, but I think there's so much that I don't agree with and don't like it. It just keeps getting proven correct over and over again as we go forward. So anyway, that's just a slightly different take on it.
Sure. Carrie, I saw you were trying to raise your hand. What are your thoughts?
Yes, one of the things I find is that I feel like I'm on the suction end of a vacuum, being pulled into finding more and more things of whatever has piqued my attention right then. And I tell myself that I should have the fortitude to just stop. But especially at bedtime, it's very hard to keep it out of my bedroom. And I can't tell you, it's like stopping smoking. I can do it anytime. I've practiced a lot.
Right. Yeah, they did talk about that rabbit hole, right? And it is nefarious. So absolutely. Let's see. Who did we not hear from yet? Beth, did we hear from you yet?
I don't think so. No. I don't think of myself as particularly polarized, but it's been frustrating to see my friends. Like, I posted a story my son did on opening up colleges that he wrote for his school. And one of my friends was very upset about, kids going back to college during the COVID era. And then another friend told me that my friend was a bot and to be worried, and they were going, they were having fights on Facebook about my post, and I just felt awful because I like them both. Wow. So I think that that's one of the challenges, is even if you're not polarized, you think you're putting something innocuous out there, your friends could really get at it with each other.
Did you ask your friend, are you a bot?
Who was, one of my colleagues, but the good news is they both took down their, contentious posts. So I felt good about that.
All right. Jose, I see you're trying to get in on this one. What are your thoughts?
For me, the big issue is I also chase those rabbit holes that, sometimes you should stay away. But the other day I had a discussion with my oldest daughter, and it was amazing that we were in different sides of the argument, and we both have facts uh, about the issue, but the facts didn't match each other. But she had sources, I had sources, she had data, I had data, and I was like, but we cannot even have a conversation because it's like we have two realities.
Yeah.
And so I'm struggling with that because there's no way, there's no firm ground that you can say, okay, here's the truth. Now you have your opinion, I have mine, but here's the truth. It's like the truth is no longer there.
Right. Eileen, what are your thoughts?
It would be bad enough if social media was just on the computer, but it is on your phone. And I don't like seeing every single person outside, whether they're walking from their from Walmart to their car, or in a mall, or in a parking lot, or I don't care where it is. Everyone's face is down looking at the phone. There is no interaction. People that are walking together are not talking. They are all looking at the phone. And I don't know what that's going to be long term, but it's just cold. I just don't like everyone's mind on a computer and not dealing with each other.
Okay. And we can spend another minute on this. We have Karen and Joe as the last two. If you could each keep your points to hopefully 30 seconds or less, that'd be great. So Karen, what are your thoughts on this? And you're muted right now.
I don't post political views so that I can see so that I don't get unfriended by people with different views. And I live in Maryland. I have friends in Portland. I have friends in Texas. And my friends in Texas are posting about people in Portland burning Bibles. Everybody in Texas seems to know that people in Portland are burning Bibles. I'm pretty sure that none of my friends in Portland know that anybody in Portland's burning Bibles. Somebody burned a Bible.
Yeah.
But the distribution of that information, those facts, as the gentleman was saying earlier, those facts are presented and promoted or hidden or expanded in very different ways.
Okay. Joe, what's your thought?
Yeah, I think Carrie mentioned just the sucking of time, especially in the evening before bedtime. And I would just add stress into that. You just get stressed out when you hear see these crazy points of view and arguments going on.
Right. All right. So that was a great discussion of the negatives. Now, hopefully, and that was the other question. Hopefully, we can find some positives in it, right? So, what are the aspects that I value? Has it given me any deeper perspective? So, is there anyone who feels like they've gotten those benefits from social media? I'm gonna once again put my virtual background on these. Okay. Okay, great. So, and Doug, what's your thought on this?
It's taken a good deal of discipline and effort, but to some extent, I've been able to train my personalized news feeds to favor particular news sources that actually have nuance and that do tend to be critical of all sides of an issue. There are a few of them left, but I do see a trend where I'm seeing more and more of those. The more carefully I kind of choose where I put my thumbs ups. On the other hand, I have to be careful not to block outright other news sources because, as the other lady mentioned, I don't want to be excluded from them just because I think they're doing a poor job. And sometimes they have information that's valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, what are your thoughts?
I can't believe I'm the positive person tonight. I'm not used to that role. I will, so prior to social media, I had a pretty good variety of magazines I subscribed to. But I will say that social media with a trained feed has given me a lot more variety of inputs that I got from those 3 magazines. And there have been times I've come across something that like profoundly changed my mind. And don't ask me for an example because I can't remember, but I can remember that that has happened. So again, you know, I'm back to my theme. The beast can be trained.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Paul. I've definitely experienced that myself. And you know that I have these debates with myself about whether I should unfriend the most toxic person that I know on Facebook. But I'm someone who just doesn't unfriend anyone pretty much. So I have kept him there, and he is posting stuff that does give me a very different perspective. And occasionally I find it does actually enrich my understanding. So there's a lot of risk to it, right? But I do find reward from it, and that's my personal experience. Alistair, what are your thoughts about this?
There we go. Okay, I'm on. I find this discussion extremely interesting because I've been aware that these media are valuable if you're willing to do a lot of hard work. And lazy people are just victims or agents. I'm particularly interested in what a couple of people said about training their feeds. I have never heard that concept. I would like to know more about that.
Okay, well, hopefully you'll get a chance if you go into a breakout room that actually talks about that. Then you'll hear up close perhaps some of those strategies. Jane, I'm going to give you the last word on this one, and then we'll be moving into the breakout room portion. So, what are your thoughts?
What are the aspects that I value are none. And has it given me any deeper perspective? No, I don't think so. I think the negatives have outweighed the positives.
Okay. All right. Well, that's certainly going to be the experience of, I think, a decent number of people. So thanks for telling us that. So I want to show you all what we're going to be talking about in the breakout rooms. So once again, I'll show you my screen. And so we're first going to talk about societal level impacts in the breakout room. So the overall question is going to be, what can we do as a society to shift towards a more positive impact of social media? And you know, my accompanying question is it possible to separate the good that social media does from the money machine, as someone put it in the movie, that the companies use to fund themselves, right? Is that separable in some way? And so we're actually going to have 3 different rooms that we're going to be having a conversation in. The first room is going to be about awareness and education. So the question that I would like to pose for you is, what kinds of programs or events could Braver Angels create to benefit society in this way? And so this conversation is going to be led by Beth Mallow and Randy Freeman. And so if you are interested in that, you should pick room 1. Room 2 is going to be about a potential government role. All right. So what sort of regulations could be put in place to protect us and our children, right? We mentioned that younger generations are really having some deep impacts from this, from falling victim to the ills of social media in a way that respects civil liberties, right? There's definitely a lot of concern about censorship and bias and things like that. And potentially, is there an antitrust action that makes sense, right? Are there any actions that we feel should be advocated for on an institutional basis? And then the third room involves the ethos of Braver Angels. And the questions that I want to look at is, could Braver Angels use the same sort of influence techniques that social media does, like A/B testing, for example, right, to target and refine their message, but for good? And is it possible to do that ethically, right? Do you have to inform everyone what you're doing in order to do it ethically, or is it possible, because you're doing something good for the world, that your advertising can just be be ethical in general. So those are the three discussions. Each one of them will be led by a Braver Angel moderator or two. And if we could have you remember, someone in the room could remember to record the breakout. That would be really helpful for us. And so, Dan, I'm going to ask for you to activate the breakout rooms and allow people who want to choose their rooms to do so now. And then if you don't have that capability, then when you stick around, Dan will slot you in. We're going to go one by one and say, who wants to be in this room? He'll slot you into that one. And then we'll go to number 2. So remember, room 1 is awareness and education. I think this is being chatted, right? Into the chat in terms of what each room, there we go. So it is in the chat, thanks Dan. And so I'm gonna stop my screen share. So, and Dan, is the breakout rooms open at this point? Yes, okay, so they are open. Hopefully the people who wanna do that discussion are shuffling into there. If you can't pick your breakout room and you want to go into breakout room number 1, please raise your hand for room number 1, okay? And Dan is going to slot you in there now. And I guess some people can't raise their hand electronically. If you are trying to raise your hand electronically, you can click on the participant button. That'll bring up the participant panel, and there should be a raise hand button there. So this is for room number 1.
Okay, and we're going through. It's taking one at a time, unfortunately, but we will get there.
And make sure you get Randy Freeman in there as soon as possible, since she'll be
oh, good. Yes. We'll do that first. We'll do that first.
And,
yes.
Oh, and Beth, Beth Mallow as well, because she's also leading. So sorry for the friction here. It's not.
There we go.
Not perfect, but okay.
Okay, we're going through. Tom Mast is next. Janet Hoffman.
Kramer is trying to raise her hand as well.
Randy Lawrence. Barbara Angelino.
That she wants to be in 2, and I keep misspelling it, so I want to make sure you get the right person. It's K-E-R.
Karen Williams.
Yeah, maybe right after he finishes populating room 1, he'll switch that person.
Okay, I think I have taken care of all the room 1s.
Okay. So, Carrie, who was it that wanted to be slotted into room 2? Oh, Judith Kramer wants to be in room 1, right?
Also, Keith, I saw raise his hands.
Okay, so Judith Kramer, and then anyone else with room 1? Marie, are you raising your hand for room 1?
I don't. Okay. I'm looking for. Okay, Judith Kramer was room 1. Okay, there we go, Judith.
And
also
Marie,
Keith.
And Keith, yeah.
And Keith.
So Marie and Keith.
Alan. Yeah. Okay. Nagny, room 1. There we go.
Okay. And Karen, which room are you raising your hand for room 1 or 2? 2. Okay. So anyone for room 2, please raise your hand.
Okay, there's Karen, there's Cynthia, and Jamie. Hi, Jamie. And Andrew. And Joe. And George. And Lyle. Okay, so I thought I got Andrew.
Okay, and okay,
he's not doesn't seem to be moving, but let's get the let's get the threes.
So room 3. Oh, Marie is supposed to be in room 1, right?
Marie is in. Okay, we'll put Marie in room 1. There we go.
And then Carrie, you're supposed to be in room 3. 3. Okay, so get Carrie into room 3 right away. And then we can slot everybody else in.
And I think one of the people on phone was, I think that was Andrew, perhaps, Andrew Roth.
Oh, yeah. I'll switch to the computer.
That's okay. Either way, we'll get you in there.
Right.
Okay, and then Eileen, you're raising your hand for which room? 3. Okay, so everyone else is going to be room 3.
There we go. And I will get into the rooms. So actually, you can say request help if you happen to be in the wrong room, and I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Once you're in the room.
Okay, and maybe I'll check
And they
out.
could kind of get in there too. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Everybody's in. Oh, Elisa, is there a room you'd like me to get you into? You're muted.
Yes.
Room number 2.
Yes, please.
Okay, there we go. I thought you were, okay. It seems to not know exactly what to do with you. Are you still here?
Oh, yeah, I'm still here. I went to room number 1 and I thought I would join a different one if that was
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, it should be. It's telling me that you're not joined. So, and I said to move to 2. It thinks that you're in.
Oh.
Tell you what, if you just get out of the meeting, get back in again, I think I'll be able to get you into room 2. You seem to be in kind of a limbo right here.
Oh, let's see. A button just popped up that says that I can
Oh,
join the breakout
yes,
room too.
there you go. There you
All right,
go.
thank you.
You're welcome. Hi there, Barbara. You're muted.
I was just leaving because I had to check out for the evening.
Okay. I hope that you found the part of the program valuable.
Always do.
There's a resource. Did you get the resource? Let me give you a resource that's a very valuable resource. We're going to do at the end. I want to make sure that you get it before you go.
Okay. Okay.
It's a page of resources from the protagonist of the film.
Okay.
From the Center for Humane Technology. If you just click on that link, it'll be in your browser and you can have it later on.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to also ask a question I get a chance to ask in the breakout room. And is the social media or social dilemma, is it available on anything but Netflix? Because I've recommended to so many people. I think it's so invaluable, but so many people don't have Netflix. And I've said, well, get a free trial or whatever. Is there another avenue that I can recommend people to get at least similar information?
Well, not to my knowledge, but one thing might be able to do is to go to that website and they might have, if any place would have resources to be able to see it, they would.
Oh, okay.
The
Could you
Center for Humane Technology.
I didn't click on it, and so maybe I lost the link when you displayed it, or is it in the chat window? Maybe I'm.
We'll do it again.
Technology.
Yeah, it's in the chat. It's in the chat window.
Okay, so if I click it now, I didn't want to lose you. That was my concern.
Yeah. No, it's good. It goes to the browser. It doesn't interrupt your Zoom session when you get
okay. All right. Well, that was it. But I really appreciate, the opportunity and all the resources and insight and everything that Braver Angels provides.
Well, that's great. That's what we're about is, helping people, kind of get that kind of perspective that it's hard to get in many other places.
And yeah, pretty much. So well, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Barbara.
To participate. All righty.
Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thanks, you as
Bye-bye.
well. Take good care.
Bye-bye. Okay, I'm running a meeting. And everybody's in a breakout room, but they should be coming back now. Hi there, Sandy. You're muted. We've been going for about an hour, unfortunately. Oh, there we are. Yeah, hi, Rand. Okay, I didn't realize it was you. You're still muted.
Where's everybody else?
Well, I just closed the breakout room, and I guess you decided to exit, and everybody else is waiting to be automatically kicked out.
It said to get out of the breakout room, so I got out.
Yeah, you followed instructions and nobody else did.
Oh.
but in another 12 or 10 or 9 seconds, they'll be back.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Hi, Randy.
Yes. There we go. Yeah, actually, I had to admit you. You were outside, Randy. That's why I was confused. I had to admit you from the waiting room. You must have left the meeting.
Okay.
All right.
There we go. I think everyone hopefully is back.
Yeah. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to ask the people who were leading the conversations and taking notes to tell us the three biggest takeaways. I'm going to start with room one. That was awareness and education, and I'm actually going to share my screen so you can all see it. But let me adjust it first real quickly. And okay, so and who was the person who was taking notes in that one?
Hi, I was.
Okay, Randy. All right. So what are your two or three biggest takeaways?
Okay, I'm gonna have to distill it because we have 6, but I'll try to pick the 3. actually, two of them I'm going to combine together. Concern about youngsters and reaching parents. I'm going to put that in one, that Brave Rangers can do more to somehow bring this issue up to parents so that we can do something about the youngsters who are on social media. Also, and I'm going to combine these two, pay attention to our pledge, Brave Angels pledge, and model good qualities. I'm going to put those two together.
Okay.
And also having a workshop that's going to bring awareness of the effects of social media so we can learn how to discern what might be accurate or not accurate, or true or not true.
Okay. Okay. What might be good information?
Right.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Those are going to be the three.
Randy. Okay. And then room 2, who was Donna? I think you were leading up the discussion on the government role. So what were your 2 or 3 high points there? And Donna, are you unmuted? Hopefully you're here, Donna. Do we have Donna?
Sorry, yeah, I was muted. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so a great idea was warning labels. We had warning labels on cigarettes. Why not warning labels? Can you see at the top of every Facebook page, there's a label that says, and different labels, you know, warning use of overuse of social media by teenagers can lead to thoughts of suicide. You know, there's all sorts of warning labels you could put on there. I'm older, so I remember public service announcements. They seem like a thing of the past, but why not resurrect public service announcements too? And then when we talked about antitrust, you know, that it'd be breaking up some of these monster companies, and maybe it might work, but I didn't say this then, but I'm reminded of Mickey Mouse in The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Remember, he chopped up that broom, and then suddenly there was no longer one broom bringing water to the bath. There were hundreds of brooms bringing water to the bath. And so, you know, but it is true that, you know, each of these giants do control, you know, one controls Instagram, one controls Yahoo, you know, YouTube. They just bought them up, and there's just no competition like there used to be.
Okay. All right. And then for the third one, we have Carrie. And so what were the top 3 points from the ethos of Braver Angels?
So the feeling is that there's at least some reason to think that it could be done successfully. But that's the one point. Another point is the cautionary part of that, the but it takes words like deep discipline, and that playing fair is uphill, and that to do that you have to jump in the fray. So all of these phrases conveying the deep amount of effort involved in having a successful and ethical use.
Right.
But that if you were going to do so, that some of the traits that you would want to have would be transparency, accountability, and then also design such that people aren't flooded and tuning it out.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, these are, it looks like great discussions across the board. So thank you all so much for your participation in that. I want to get to the next breakout conversation, which is going to be more about the personal level. So let me get back to the correct screen so I can get through this. Okay, so on the personal level, the general question is, is it possible to avoid the negative aspects while using social media for the positives? So can we use it to improve our lives, including possibly broadening our perspective and not just reinforcing our existing perspective, right? So we have 3 rooms for this. First room is Braver Angels skills. What skills from Braver Angels training workshops are useful for social media, and how can they actually be deployed in that context, right? We often give the warning, don't try this on social media. What that really means is don't try this for the first time in a mass conversation where you don't have much control over the dynamics of it, right? And because it's a lot more difficult, but even though it's more difficult, are there tools that we can use that we have taught people that we can use in this context? And so this is focusing on the conversations that we have, particularly the political ones, all right? So that's room 1, and Carrie is going to be leading that discussion. And then room 2 is going to be talking about personal choices. What decisions can I make that can improve the way that social media impacts my life? Is it too dangerous to give a child before a certain age, for example? Are there any tips that were given during the credits of that movie that especially resonated with you, right? They gave you some tips and some resources. So anything that in particular was great for you to see, and Randy will be leading that conversation. If Beth is, and I think Beth had to take off, but Randy will be leading that. And then the third one is cutting ties. So when is it time to unfriend someone? And then what would influence my decision whether or not to keep using social media at all? Right? Would I cut the cord from social media? And has anyone stopped using it? I think someone, a few people mentioned they had. And what was the effect on your life? We'd love to hear that. And Donna is going to be leading that discussion. So once again, there will be a moderator in the room with you. And if we could have someone remember to record the breakout rooms. So right now, Doug is going to be, or Dan is going to be opening the breakout rooms to allow the people who can to choose the room that they want to be in. And if you can't, then we're going to go through it once again, one at a time. And by the way, we're going to try to keep these to about 10 minutes so we can not have too long. We can get finished before 6:30 or 9:30 Eastern. So go to your rooms if you can, and then right now, so I'm going to stop my share, and I think it should be in the chat that lists the room targets. Yep. And so for room 1, who would like to go to room 1? And that's Bravery Angel skills. Okay, and Dan, you're in the process of slotting in. You're muted, by the way, Dan.
Sorry, I had my muted. Yes, so we had Joanne. Now we'll have Jamie and B. Barnett. And
Okay.
that's all I have for room 1.
Great. All right, room 2. Who would like to enter room 2? And that's going to be personal choices.
Okay, so we have Janet.
And Judith Kramer, by the way, is raising her hand visibly.
Judith Kramer for 2. Okay. Here we
And
go.
Cynthia Backoffer is
and
also
Marie. And Cynthia.
Okay.
And Jane. And I think that's it for room 2.
Okay. All right. So everybody else is going to be room 3. Okay. Sounds good.
Oh, so Eileen's the room.
Eileen, are you going for room 3? Yes, Eileen,
Okay.
room 3.
Okay, well, I'm just going to go assign
everybody.
everybody.
We're just going to slot everybody else into room 3.
Okay.
Okay, and I might choose my own. Okay, I'm going to go into room 1 myself.
Okay. Okay, Andrew, Are you, let's see. I'm looking for you on my list. You should be going to room 3. You're muted right now. And you are assigned to 3, but I still see you here. So if you can unmute yourself, I can maybe help you figure out what's going on. There should be a little pop-up that you can click on to say, join room 3. Here we go. Hi, Andrew. You're muted right now.
Yeah, Dan, somehow it didn't work for me to get into room number 3.
Did you click on the little button that says, yes, I want to go to room 3? Gives you a little pop-up that you have to agree to go there.
Well, no, you you were, hold on a second, you were assigning me. I don't,
Yeah, but you still have, I think you have to agree to it. I think that's the idea.
oh, I didn't the last time. No, I got in there, but it was frozen. I could see Donna and some people, but it was frozen.
Oh, okay, so you got in there, but something else went wrong.
Yeah, can
Well,
you put me back in there?
I can, but it's not going to be on for too much longer, but there you go. Enjoy the last couple of minutes. There you go.
Okay.
Hey,
All right, we
we're
are
back.
back. Hopefully everyone had another great conversation there. I'm going to once again share my screen so we can have a report out from those who ran the conversation. So do that now. Okay. So the first room, which I happened to be in, and I thought it was a great conversation, was run by Carrie. So Carrie, what do you think are the top 2 or 3 points that we discussed in that room? And are you...
First of all, that it's possible.
Okay.
And that it has been done to good effect. And secondly, that one of the major tasks, it has to do with reactivity. How do you address reactivity? And thirdly would be the various skills around boundaries. And what kinds of skills keep you in the conversation when you want to be in it? And what kinds of skills take you out of the conversation, either intentionally or unintentionally?
Okay, great. Thanks, Carrie. And then personal choices. Who was the one who was running that conversation? Randy. Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself. And what were the...
The most important point that we all made and probably spoke mostly about was the impact on children and the incredible anxiety that a lot of children are feeling right now. And can we do more to help parents take control and to maybe band together, because children themselves cannot make the decision because there's so much peer pressure. So how can we help parents band together and take some control?
Okay, great. And then who else? Were there other? Yeah, there were other points, right?
The tech companies should educate people on flats. I'm not sure exactly how we said that, but the tech companies should be educating people about the use of platforms responsibly. Responsible use of platforms. And then also one of the tips that was really appreciated was using a different search engine, not Google.
Okay, great. Thanks, Randy. And Donna, what did you discuss regarding cutting ties? And you're muted, Donna.
Thank you. So one person talked about kind of selective use of, for example, Facebook. So she needed to help plan a funeral, and Facebook was great to help her connect with people so that she could find the people she needed to invite. The trick is, after you're done with that, can you then get away? You know, once it's got you again, can you get away from it again? So we have 2 people. One person gave up Facebook 8 years ago, and one gave it up 9 years ago. And they feel pretty good about that. You know, less fighting, less vitriol. And people have unfriended people. And one person talked about how she unfriended a family member. She felt kind of bad about it, but boy, she feels, you know, a lot more peace of mind now that she did unfriend this family member. So it can be done.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All set for your points? Is this this one perhaps is a separate one, the unfriending the family member?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Great. Thanks, Donna. All right. So another 3 great conversations. So with that, we're going to close out. We're going to have a final discussion question, and I'm trying to share my screen for that one. Okay. And bear with me for a second. Let me get back to the right window to control this. Okay. So the checkout question is going to be, we're going to reflect on this conversation as a group, We want to know what the most important thing that you're taking away from this conversation tonight. So pretty straightforward question. And I'm going to put this up as my background again. And then we will we'll have that conversation. So who would like to start? And let me take a look at the list. And okay, whoops. Okay, so Andrew, I see you want to say something. What are you taking away from our conversations tonight? And you're muted.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. What I'm taking away is about the format. I've never done this kind of discussion. I've done all sorts of other things with Braver Angels. And last week I did, I went to the discussion on another documentary, Stars and Strife, but that was with experts. And I really like this. This was just like a big conversation of a whole bunch of citizens, everybody equal. And I really liked it a lot.
Great. Glad to hear that. Thank you. All right. So Jane, what are you taking away from this conversation?
There's a lot of middle-aged and older people here, and younger people are the ones that should be in on this conversation. And I don't know why they aren't.
Oh, true.
Yeah, we definitely would love to have more young people in all of our conversations. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks. Gene Hinson, what are you taking away? And you're muted.
Just fine, man. I was really struck by how coming together to address a serious challenge that really had me stressed out watching the video, but in a respectful way with people I don't know and people whose backgrounds or opinions on anything, politics or anything I really don't know for the most part, is really calming. And I think it's an experience that more people need to have these days.
Great. Okay, Jamie, what are you taking away?
I'm grateful that this conversation was scheduled because I would have gotten around to watching The Social Dilemma. Both my daughters recommended that I watch it. And this pushed me into it. And the idea both of, the idea of what we should do to regulate this behemoth, and also the, how can we use our Braver Angel skills to better navigate social media?
Yeah. All right. Great.
I came away with a lot more ideas. All the minds in this session are much greater than my one mind. And I came away with a lot more thoughts to ponder. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Karen. And so we have two more. You'll close it out. So Alistair and Eileen are going to be our closing people. So Alistair, what are you taking away?
I found this valuable and I appreciate everybody's participation. I am seeing that Braver Angel, this was an apolitical thing. There's no red-blue issue here as far as I can see. So apparently Braver Angel is moving in the direction of just using its forum and its methods to discuss big issues of any kind, which I think is a good thing.
Okay, great. And Eileen?
I came away with the education part that I do a lot of Zoom meetings, so I was used to the format. But I enjoyed seeing the movie and then discussing it and seeing different people's points of view, different aspects, and teaching me things. So that is my big takeaway, that I can think more clearly now about what other people think and feel, and it's not just what I come away with, and how can I then make a solution.
Okay, great. Well, those are some great thoughts. I am really grateful that we had such amazing engagement with this. And I want to thank all of the people who actually came together last minute. I threw this out to the moderators who ran the rooms, and Dan running the breakout rooms, who really stepped up like an all-star. I thank you so much. I'm really, yeah, absolutely. Jazz hands for all of them. This has been really rewarding, and hopefully we can parlay this into something really great that the organization can produce. So thanks everyone for engaging in the conversation. And if anyone is not a member yet, please go to our website and click on the top right. It's support us. But get involved in just as many ways as you can. Obviously, this is a big push for up until the election for us. So I'm going to put up my my other background about Hold America Together, which is a really important program for us. So if you need support on election day, even the day after, we're doing these really great programs. So please engage with us as much as possible. And thank you all so much for coming.
Oh, Randy, I chatted in the resource link that we talked about that you wanted everybody to have before.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me, Dan. Yes. So humanetech.org, or I think there was also humanetech.com that leads to the same place. And I think it's the same place, the same link that you saw at the end of the movie, the socialdilemma.com. I think so. It gives you a lot of resources and a lot of the tools that we discussed in these conversations about how you can have social media work better for your life. So definitely check that out. And I'm sure we will be continuing this conversation as an organization. So thanks, everyone.